Back when Ukraine was still a part of the Soviet Union, a tank commander for the Soviet army and a nurse would have their only son, who would be nicknamed Sheva after the family's last name. Originally from a small village on the eastern side of Ukraine, they would move to Kiev when the boy was just 9 years old. Shortly after, he developed a liking for sports in general, enrolling in both his school's football and boxing team. His life would change drastically as one day stories would go around town that something bad had happened, but the government was hiding it from its people, and there was no panic, despite the rumors growing larger and larger until one day, after the school exams, authorities would show up at the school and evacuate the children, taking them to Donetsk by the sea where they would be left in a camping park, not knowing what had happened until about 3 months later the parents would be allowed to come get them, and it became public knowledge that the Chernobyl nuclear plant had exploded and the people had been exposed to the radiation. Only in the years to come would the consequences be seen. That same year, as they went back to their lives, Sheva would enter a football tournament and be noted by a Dynamo Kiev scout as his path to become the club's greatest name, the path to become Ukraine's greatest, the path to become Andriy Shevchenko started. At Dynamo, it was evident that the kid had great talent and his progress would be very fast. Only 4 years later, at 14, he would be awarded a pair of boots by Ian Rush after being the top scorer in a tournament sponsored by the Liverpool legend. He would have his first professional match for Dynamo's B team at just 16 years of age, playing only 12 minutes and only taking part in 6 matches that season, not managing a single goal. The following season would be a game changer in his career, as he would manage to finish as the B team's top scorer, even getting his first career hat-trick and earning himself a move to the first team. Debuting against Shakhtar Donetsk and going on to win both the league and the cup, and though he would struggle to get many goals, he would earn himself his first match for the national team in a match against Croatia. This would eventually not look as much of an achievement for the player as he'd win the league in every one of the 5 seasons he spent at the club. At international level though, as much as the club made several attempts at a Champions League assault, they would never manage much, despite Shevchenko giving everything to the team, going as far as scoring a hat-trick at the Camp Nou at just 21 years of age. Despite that, it would be in his last season that he would get them the farthest, only going out in the semi-finals against Bayern on a 1-goal difference, despite Shevchenko managing 2 himself. That year he would get not only those 2 goals against Bayern, but 3 against Real Madrid, 1 against Arsenal, and 4 more against the remaining teams to total out 8 goals in 10 Champions League matches, scoring 47% of Dynamo's goals in the competition and all but 1 of their knockout stage goals. An incredible job, but a young prospect who clearly needed a move to a team who could take him even farther, and as you might imagine, there were plenty of them looking to fulfill that void. At the end of it all, AC Milan would get their player for 24 million euros, a fee that might not seem like much now, but was incredible back in 1999. As Shevchenko arrived at Milan with an impressive resume of 10 club titles at the age of just 22, many would easily expect him to get a bunch more in Italy, but it would actually not be until 2003 that he would get his firsts. Before that, he would have to deal with an AC Milan who in his first season at the club would only managed to win 3 of their first 14 matches. This still wouldn't be enough to stop this madman from scoring 8 goals over that same stretch, even getting a hat-trick against Lazio. Once things started looking up as the season was played out, he would only get better, ending the season with 24 league goals, joining the very short list of just 5 foreign players who managed to be the Serie A's top scorers in their first season, such as Michel Platini, John Charles and Gunnar Nordahl. His second season wouldn't be much different, though he would incredibly started with 6 goals in 3 matches and go on to get the exact same tally of 24 league goals. This time he would be outscored by Hernan Crespo, as Milan only managed a 6th place finish. After a 3rd season to forget, only managing half of his previous goals tally, the 2002-2003 season would be, to say the least, a mixed bag. Though he would be out for 2 months as he needed knee surgery, he would come back in time to get a goal against Real Madrid in the group stage and another against Inter in the semi-finals, as he tried his hardest to help the team despite his dip in form. And as much as you might criticize him for only managing 10 goals that season, 4 of them would come in the 10 Champions League matches that would give Milan their 6th European title and make Shevchenko the first Ukrainian to lift the Champions League trophy. One very touching thing I'd like to point out is that the day after winning the Champions League, Shevchenko flew back to Kiev to place a medal in the grave of his former Dynamo Kiev coach, Valery Lovanovsky, who died that same year. For the remainder of his time at Milan, Shevchenko would be on fire once again, scoring the only goal in the 2003 European Super Cup against FC Porto and finishing as Serie A top scorer with yet again 24 goals as he finally managed to lead AC Milan to the much sought after trophy. All of this led him to being regarded as one of the best strikers as well as all-around players in the world at the time, and since he started the next season with an astonishing 17 goals in 20 matches, including a hat-trick against Lazio in the Italian Super Cup, by the end of the year, he would win the Ballon d'Or and be considered the best player in the world, being placed in the podium alongside Deco and Ronaldinho, as Thierry Henry failed to make the podium despite getting 30 Premier League goals and helping Arsenal achieve their unforgettable undefeated season. The following season, despite being out for a month and a half due to a facial fracture, which, by the way, sounds terrifying, he would still manage to get 6 Champions League goals, notably 2 against both Inter and Barcelona, before getting his second Champions League final, where, despite seeing his teammates Crespo and Maldini get 3 goals before halftime, he wouldn't be able to stop Liverpool from performing what is known as the Miracle of Istanbul, getting 3 goals in 6 minutes before beating Milan on penalties. The following season, perhaps upset at this disaster, it would start by getting 7 goals in 9 matches, only to then get an incredible 4 goals in a single Champions League match against Fenerbahce. Despite these incredible performances added to yet another one where he would score twice against Bayern, he would not manage to reach the final as Barcelona would take over the semi-final match. At this point, it seemed the move was bound to happen. The previous summer, Russian billionaire and Chelsea owner Roman Abramovich offered 73 million euros plus Crespo for the player, and though Milan would take Crespo on loan, they would refuse to let go of Shevchenko. Regardless, the player would progressively be more and more interested in joining the club, may it be for the high amounts proposed or for his interest in playing under Jose Mourinho, who had built himself a cult following over the last few years. What matters is that as the season ended, Shevchenko would refuse a contract renewal and would push for a move, with both clubs eventually settling on a 44 million euro transfer fee. So much was the confidence in Shevchenko's abilities that Mourinho would hand him his preferred number 7 shirt, but then the goals just didn't come, or at least not like they used to. Only 14 over 51 matches, as despite winning both domestic cups, Chelsea would not manage to win the league this time. Still, over this season he would manage to overtake the rest of the competition, getting his 57th goal in the Champions League, putting him in second place only behind Gerd Müller when it came to goal scoring in Europe's most esteemed club competition. If the first season had been uninspiring, the second was a disaster, with Mourinho's departure and Shevchenko picking up an ankle injury that would leave him out for nearly 3 months and lead him to getting barely any playing time as he came back, not even being utilized as Chelsea reached the Champions League final. With new coach Luis Felipe Scolari deeming Shevchenko as out of his plans, AC Milan would offer to take him on loan. But even there, Shevchenko, who once destroyed the Serie A with goals after goals after goals, now could not even manage a single league goal over the season. As he went back to Chelsea, so did Ancelotti, who had just coached him at AC Milan, and having seen his form, he would be quick to send the player away. Now, clearly past his best, he would take on a move to his first professional team, Dynamo Kiev, where he would average 10 goals a season, now playing in the left wing, and though he would still be considered one of the best players in the league, he would finish second place behind Shakhtar in all of the 3 years before he announced his retirement. Over his career, he would also become a symbol for the Ukrainian national team, scoring 48 goals in 111 matches, despite only playing 2 international tournaments and only once making it out of the group stage, getting knocked out in the quarterfinals of the 2006 World Cup by Italy. Though this might seem very unimpressive, his efforts for this subpar Ukrainian team would set an example that would lead future generations to fight for better results, as Ukraine has managed to qualify to every Euros ever since. At this point, the question in your head is quite obvious. Why did Shevchenko fail at Chelsea? And though I can't give you a definite answer, I'd say I have a very good guess. As I've told you, Abramovich was in love with the striker as he wanted him to be his crown jewel, but Mourinho, being the coach he is, he doesn't like divas, and he made it very clear in a press conference, saying, "He was like a prince in Milan, and at Chelsea our philosophy was different. We had no princes. Everybody needs to work like everybody else, and he needs to prove he deserves to play." I'd guess, and it has been said for a while, that Shevchenko and Mourinho most likely clashed, and given both their relationships with the owner, it became a tug-of-war to see who could sway Abramovich to their side, and though it's unclear who won, since both would leave the club at about the same time, I'd say that most likely this back and forth managed only to put them both in Abramovich's bad side, and that's one place where you would not want to be. Shevchenko was an incredibly well-rounded striker while still maintaining an exceptional eye for goal. Pairing his speed with incredible off-the-ball movement, he often took on a free role, allowing him to drift onto the left wing and help progress the ball, rather than waiting for it. Shevchenko was quite simply the complete striker, often being compared with Marco van Basten over his career, despite putting physicality above grace, unlike the Dutch striker. One last thing I'd like to point out is how much of a big game player he was. Over his career, he got 15 goal contributions in 19 matches against Inter, 13 in 16 matches against Lazio, 9 in 12 against Roma, 7 in 16 against Juventus, and even in the Champions League, he managed 7 in 11 against Barcelona, 5 in 5 against Bayern, and 4 in 4 against Real Madrid. That's like Cristiano Ronaldo level of clutchness. After his career as a footballer, he, known for being an intelligent player, would take on not only politics but also the spot as Ukraine's coach, being considerably successful. And to Chelsea fans who, despite all this, might still miss him, well, there are news that he could soon come to replace Frank Lampard as the team's coach. We'll see. Getting into the ranking system, first finishing, he scored a lot of goals, great goals and in all sorts of ways, but given how much he ended up struggling to score past his peak, I feel like it would be unfair to give him the perfect score. It's a 9 out of 10. Positioning, in my opinion, is a 9 out of 10. He was exceptional at finding space, but I feel his main thing was creating it and doing it quickly and in just a few touches. Speed and physicality is another easy one. He was fast, he was strong, he was great in aerial play, easily a 10 out of 10. Touch and ball control, as I said, he created space so easily it seemed like it wasn't even a matter of concern for him. A 10 out of 10. When it comes to mentality, it's simple. The guy was like an assassin for hire. So composed in front of goal, so unfazed by the crowds, a silent leader, a 10 out of 10. When it comes to longevity and adaptability, I have to say it is very poor. I feel like he wasted some of his best years in Ukraine, and then, between injuries and his inevitable fall from grace at Chelsea, he ended up having only around 5 exceptional seasons at top level, never managing to prove himself in another top league. It's a 6 out of 10. When it comes to flair, I am honestly not sure what to give him. He could score in any way possible, and his dribbling was a pleasure to the eye, but I still feel like something was missing. It's an 8 out of 10. The trophy cabinet was pretty underwhelming for an all-time great. Only one major international trophy and 2 major league titles. Despite this, the Ballon d'Or is of course very impressive. It's a 7 out of 10. The icon factor is tough. I always feel like these players who tend to keep to themselves a lot end up hurting their legacy, and Shevchenko seems to be no exception. Despite how skilled he was, several less talented players end up enjoying a higher level of notoriety, which can only get him a 7 out of 10. This totals out fell to 76 out of 90, placing him in the middle of the table with the players like Cantona, Rivaldo, and Del Piero. Now it's your turn to go down to the link in the description and vote for the X Factor to see whether you think Shevchenko was the greatest player of all time or maybe just a good player. I'd also like to show you that I've added both Xabi Alonso and George Best's X Factor to the table, which you can now see on the screen. And yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed. This was Shevchenko's career in a video. I hope that the fact that I have kind of a sore throat wasn't too noticeable. I've been really struggling to push out these videos considering I have exams at around this time of the year. So yeah, regardless, if you did enjoy, press like button, subscribe if you're new, and yeah, that's it. See you next time. Bye.